and that is the Adam Project. After accidentally crash landing in 2022, time traveling fighter pilot Adam Reed teams up with his 12-year-old self for a mission to save the future, starring Ryan Reynolds, Zoe Saldana, Mark Ruffalo, Catherine Keener, Jennifer Garner, and introducing Walker Scobell. The film debuted on Netflix March 11th and has been the #1 film on the service since. Which, before we get into the Adam Project, they're allegedly going to be cutting down on password sharing again, just like they were cutting down on password sharing before.
Yeah. Yes.
So we'll see, if that's something that folks get affected by, but that just came out. I think it was either today or yesterday. So spoiler free.
Spoiler free. If they do cut on passwords, it will only hurt the people that I have shared my password with, because I'm the one that has all of it. So I am sorry, everyone that uses my password in the greater, the greater Hayes Thompson family. If you use it, I'm sorry.
So that's a spoiler for them.
That's a spoiler for them.
Yeah.
But on this movie, I will say it has its really good parts.
Yeah.
It has its really dull parts. And I will say it, for me, it doesn't hit the notes that I was expecting it to. But I actually ended up liking it, I think, more than I thought, because I think the notes I thought I expected it to hit were not what I actually wanted. So it was one of those things where it kind of had some twists and turns. I thought the middle was very dull and there wasn't really enough going on there, but I really liked the performances. The kid in it is from Erie.
Oh, really?
He's from Erie. Yeah.
Wow.
GoErie.com. Check it out. He's actually working on a second movie right now. So good for him. That's near where we grew up. We've definitely, in some sports, one way or other, have played Erie County schools. So we know that area. Snows there. It's a miserable place to live. Yeah, it's a miserable place to live, except for the 3 weeks in the summer. It's nice.
Yeah.
But Ryan Reynolds is Ryan Reynolds, and that's fine for me. That is totally fine. It was fun having Mark Ruffalo in this, being like a nerd, so it's like Bruce Banner light.
Yeah.
And so that was fun. Zoe Saldana, she is what she is. She's one of these people where, like, I don't think she's really that great of an actress, but she knows how to do what she does. And I think actually the best part was, like, I think Catherine Keener, right? Is that?
Yeah.
I thought she was actually, like, maybe like this, like, semi, like, really good part of this movie. It was weird because she's playing like the two roles, and
no spoilers.
I'm just saying she's playing the two roles, and she does it really well. It was like, you're getting from Ryan Reynolds. You kind of know what you're getting Mark Ruffalo in one way or the other. But no, her parts were really good. Her parts to me were like the most intriguing when it kind of dealt into that, because she was the enemy in some way, shape, or form. Even though, you could also argue someone else was the enemy. But for me, this movie was fine. It wasn't that long. It was an hour and 45. It could have been an hour and 30. And
I think with credits, it was closer to an hour and 30. Yeah.
I think, like, what I should say is, like, if you cut maybe 10, 15 from it, I know it's not like a feature length then, but there's probably other stuff you can do to cut 7 minutes from it. And it's a better movie. I think there was just a little bit too much of a lull in the middle, because I thought the action was good. I thought Ryan Reynolds is Ryan Reynolds, which is fine with me. I had no problem with that. The kid I thought was pretty good. Good embodiment of, like, a young, snarky Ryan Reynolds. And yeah, for me, it worked okay. There was just that middle part that just missed the mark enough for me to not be, like, gung-ho about it.
I think I agree with you on that aspect of things, where the middle was what was very lacking for me. And I have pretty specific complaints about that, but I'll save that for spoilers. I will say that this movie, I did not expect. I expected standard science fiction time traveler fare, with Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds. and, you know, the other characters kind of doing what they do. I will say that I know with Red Notice, when we reviewed it, he got to be overbearing in Red Notice. And I thought this was the perfect balance of his like sarcasm and his humor. It wasn't too overbearing. The kid creeped me out. And like the kid creeped me out because his mannerisms and his facial expressions were so well honed. I mean, I believe he got this role from like memorizing the entire movie of Deadpool or something like that.
That's cool.
Was part of it. But his mannerisms and facial expressions and the way he said certain things were so accurate to Ryan Reynolds that it actually it creeped me out a little bit. But I think what the main thing is, and I think maybe we will get into this with spoilers because I have a feeling that it's kind of the same for you, is that it hit me in places that I did not think, A, that it was trending in, and B, that if you showed me just like a poster or a trailer of this movie, I didn't think that it would hit me in those places. And I enjoyed it for that. I think from the sounds of it, I'm maybe a little bit higher on it than you are. But let's get into spoilers.
Sure. So I think my favorite part about this movie was like, it wasn't necessarily trying to do anything new with like time travel.
Yeah.
Time travel is bad. It's always kind of the end of the theme is like, you really don't want to time travel because you can mess with things. And I like that. I like the way that he kind of enters in and it's like, you don't sometimes these movies mess around getting to that, like the actual time travel. He time travels. He meets the younger version of himself very early on. And I really thought that was cool. And I really like the mannerisms. I understand what you're saying. Like that kind of freaks you out when they're eating and they do the same swiping and everything. Like I understand that's acting, but that was so perfect and really well done. The way he has the snarkiness, like when he's the little kid getting beat up, it's like, if you kind of close your eyes and you're like, I can honestly picture that's Ryan Reynolds as a kid. Right. And that's one of those funny things is like Ryan Reynolds may not actually even be that person, but he's so much become that person because of his acting that he kind of has to be that person. Mm-hmm. And the thing I'll say about Ryan Reynolds, because I actually think he is just one of those guys that's like genuinely a decent person, a good enough actor that he can like, you know, obviously headline a movie, This is so funny to me. I don't know if there's an actor where he really can just be that person and do a variety of things. Now, Red Notice, it may have been too much, but that's not necessarily his fault. That's directing. He's doing what he's supposed to do. But I'm never annoyed that Ryan Reynolds is being Ryan Reynolds. You know, if it's too much, it's because a director or writer maybe put too much in it, but he's told, you know, he's supposed to do something. And he is just good enough at being snarky. He's just, you know, he obviously is a handsome enough guy that he can kind of pull it off, but he also has a good level of self-deprecation that I think really works. And it really works in this movie. And that's actually where I was like, I kind of thought he was going to be like too cool for school. Because it's science fiction. A lot of times, either you're way too nerdy or you're way too cool in science fiction. There's never that middle ground. And he actually is a good middle ground because he has the lightsabers, essentially, is what they end up being, which I thought was kind of funny. And it's like you're paying homage to lightsabers. And he's this nerdy kid who can't pick a fight anymore, but he can do it. But then he does screw up sometimes while he's still doing this. While he trained himself well enough, he still makes mistakes. Things don't necessarily work out for him in that end. And then, you know, the way the story all works out at the end, everything does work out, which is fine. It is a family movie. I don't really care about that. I actually thought things were going to go negative. And that's why I was like, that I thought the ending was going to maybe be a little too negative, where maybe he doesn't get back with Zoe Saldana. And it was like, but that's okay because they had their moment. And so they tied it up in a way that normally movies like this don't do it, where they try to kind of be a little sad. Like they have the play and catch moment with all three of them, which is a great moment. I'm a sucker for a play and catch. If you like Field of Dreams,
right,
you got a father and son play and catch. And that doesn't do anything to you. You obviously have no heart or soul. And it's just like, you know, that's just the way it is. And so that's a great scene. And I thought maybe it could have ended there and that would have been fine. And they disappear and you just kind of, that's the end of the movie. But like, no, it ties it up. And I actually, you know, with the loose ends, with the way the bullet, there's the magnetism at the end. We'll get into that about how the magnet pulls everything in, and the way that like Mark Ruffalo predicted that would happen with his character. He's a smart guy who didn't spend enough time with his kids. It was a science fiction movie where science fiction was actually the last part of it. Instead of being, to me, the first part of it. It could have been so much sciencey, and it wasn't. And I like science fiction, not as much as the next guy, but I like it fine. But I thought it was a nice middle ground of all those things. So while you think maybe like I may be slightly downgraded, but I actually think this was like a good movie that people should watch and enjoy, because sometimes you need just movies like this.
Yeah, I think the thing that got me a little bit was the whole concept of you don't know how late it is. Like I wasn't expecting to get like appreciate your parents because you'll never know when they're going to be gone out of this movie. And that was sort of kind of like the driving theme, throughout, that they really hammered home. The action was fine. The, like you said, the science was fine. It wasn't overbearing. Sometimes, like you said, science fiction movies can get a bit overbearing with the actual science. That's why I think maybe some people don't follow Interstellar so well, is because it's very sciencey.
Yeah.
I think for me, the two downgraded, the things that maybe pull it down a little bit for me was I didn't particularly care for Zoe Saldana's character. I didn't really think that she brought anything to the table, and I thought that the scenes in which they were in together in the middle of the movie, and this is kind of where you were talking about, she really, really overacted on those scenes.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
A lot to go.
Yeah. I didn't really think that Catherine Keener's character was a very compelling villain. There was more to be explored there with how I kept expecting that she arranged for Mark Ruffalo's death. Like I thought that was going to be.
I did too. Yeah, I guess I was a falling out. I think I just like it because she was conniving enough without it being her being the villain was not the plot of this movie. And that's what I kind of liked about it, was like while she was the main villain, she wasn't actually the main point of this movie. And sometimes the main villain is such a main point that you lose the point of this movie, which you touched on the main point of this movie.
Yeah, I just thought that's the thing, is I thought just as a villain, regardless of, being the main, being a main touchstone of the film or not, I felt like that was kind of a weak character. It wasn't very compelling. The Jennifer Garner character was fine. I think that the moment that they had kind of in the bar was like, so, for me, losing my dad at not a young age, but a fairly young age. I mean, I was in my 20s. It really resonated with me. And it was that, like, you appreciate them while you have them, because you don't know how late it is.
Right.
And so, like, that was the thing, was I didn't expect it to hit those notes, and it really did. And it kind of maybe took this from being a sort of standard sci-fi fare with a little bit of comedy to, like you said, being maybe a little bit better of a movie than it would have been otherwise. Because I think, honestly, if you take those overarching themes out, this is very average. But given that it was, there were those themes, and the kid killed it. And Ryan Reynolds is, like, all the things that you said. I'm not going to rehash all those, but I thought it was a good movie.
It's
good.
I mean, for me, I think it's so funny. I think this is honestly, I would say, like, maybe a quarter to a third of the way through. I'm probably thinking I'm giving it somewhere in the 6s, because I'm thinking this is going to end up as your normal kind of sci-fi. And then when it becomes the father-son, just the family story, not the father-son, just the family story, it really amps up its value. I mean, it sounds so crazy because it's just like, I feel like this is a high score, but I don't really think it is, because it's just enough of a good movie. I think it's like a 7.5 for me. I really do. I think it's just a good enough movie that, like, and 7.5 at 75%, but like, that's not what I thought at all a third of the way through. And it ties itself up enough that I think it's definitely watchable. And if you have a family, If you have kids yourself, or you have like a good relationship with, your mother and your father, or your mother or your father, one of those things, it really does hit you in ways you don't really expect.
Right.
And I think that is important, to hit you in those spots where you're not expecting things, and it really works.
Yeah. I think for me, I would probably stick it at a 7. And
Okay.
I do think that towards the end, where things are coming together, the stakes get raised a little bit, because you feel like maybe there's a chance that these things don't go. Maybe they have an opportunity to change things enough that some of the bad things that they both live with don't happen. Right. And so that the stakes kind of get raised. But I just feel like you said, for me, it's a little bit lower, because the middle was kind of dry. Didn't really care for the villain. Didn't really care for Zoe Saldana's character. So for me, it's a 7. So
the thing I will say about the middle, it's not that long of a middle. So if you are watching this, it actually wraps up quicker than you think, because this movie's not that long of a movie. Right. So if you trudge through it, it's probably, honestly, like, I wish I paid better attention to the actual timestamp of it. It may only be about 6 minutes. It is just a long 6 minutes. But just get through that, because I think on both ends of that, it's actually pretty solid and very good. And just to go off this, this is the second movie that Ryan Reynolds has done with Sean Levy, and he is going to be the director of Deadpool 3.
Yeah. What was the first one?
People. I had it and it disappeared, but it was, I can look it up real quick.
Yeah. Well, while you're doing that, I would just say, so it grades out to a 7.25 for us on our scale, on our average. And do you know what I think I should do? I think I should probably just open a Rotten Tomato account, just for like fan reviews, and we can do it that way for now, till we get invested, till we get those 200 Apple reviews. Help us out. If you like our reviews, you want us to be Rotten Tomatoes certified tomato meter critics, we would love that. It's our goal right now. Our goals used to be very numbers based, this many downloads, this many episodes, but we've moved kind of past that into the phase where now we're really trying to hit that
Free Guy.
Oh, it was Free Guy. Okay. Yeah, that's on stuff too. We should do that.
Yeah, we should watch that. Yeah, I want to watch it. It looks good. Yeah, I've heard it's good.
Yeah. Fuck it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
We'll do it live.
Now. Yeah. Well, you know what? We should do it live. We should do a watch party.
That'd be fun.
Maybe we'll figure that out. So 7.25, The Adam Project. It is a good watch. It's not going to, it's not going to set the world on fire, but it is number 1 on Netflix right now. So
it's also a perfect I have my phone movie. Like, you can kind of check in. You can, it's good for that.
I didn't check. I didn't do that a lot.
I didn't either, but I can see how you would if you know, and it's so you still can follow the plot.
Right. So, yeah. Like, subscribe, ring the bell.